Good day everyone. We are the Group 3 and today we will be discussing our topic which is all about the classification of natural resources. A resources is defined as everything in our environment that is used to satisfy our needs. We are quite rich when it comes to our resources. Our brilliant planet gives us billions of resources that can be broadly classified in 4 different ways. These are the 4 classification in different ways, which is first, the resources is based on origin. Second is the resources based on exhaustibility. Third is the resources based on ownership. And the last one is the resources based on status of development. The classification of resources based on origin. This classification is based where the resources is obtained from, the biotic and abiotic. Biotic are those living things, for example of animals, plants, bacteria, fungus, and protists. Biotics are those non-living things, for example of air, water, soil, mineral, and lights. Classification of resources based on exhaustibility. This classification, which are based on whether the resources is available in an unlimited supply. For example, is those non-renewable and renewable resources. Classification of resources based on ownership. This classification of resources are based on who is the owner of the resources, like example of individual resources, community resources, national resources, and international resources. Classification of resources based on status of development. This classification is based on the stage of development of the resources. These are the potential resources, developed resources, stock resources, and the last one is the reserve resources.
Associated problems in each resources. The first, resources based on origin. Biotic resources includes extinction of species, changes in temperature, abusive use, and overexploitation. While abiotic resources includes acidification of the oceans due to greater concentrations of carbon dioxide, coral bleaching triggered by changes in temperature, pH, salinity, and light, and loss of soil nutrient. The next, resources is based on exhaustibility. The renewable resources problems and issues include the enormous quantity of water life and even distribution over Earth's surface, and overutilization and pollution of surface and groundwater, also the global climate change. While the non-renewable resources are facing the environmental effects, cost of extracting and using of minerals excessively. Also, the overexploitation exhausts many of the valuable deposits which took millions of years to form. 3 is resources based on ownership. Individual resources includes land ownership and trespassers. The community resources include some problems about the shortage of health supplies, road traffic, lacking of job opportunities, lack of space for burial, lack of maintenance in some public equipment, and also the unfollowed waste management protocol. The national resources, as forest resources, use and overexploitation causes deforestation, timber extraction, mining and effects on forest, dams and their effects on forests and tribal people. And water resources includes overutilization and population of surface and groundwater, global climate change, floods and droughts. And the third one is the mineral resources, use and exploitation, environmental effects on extracting and using minerals. And lastly is the international resources, invading and exclusive economic oceans and sea zones. Fourth is resources based on status of development. A potential resources The availability of mineral oil and presence of uranium can be used due to lack of technology in using these resources. And B is development resources. Release toxins in the atmosphere that creates air pollution, which is dangerous for human and ecosystem health. And C is stock resources. Not available technical know how to use abundant gases in some purposes at present. And D reserves resources. Limited utilization of generating hydroelectric power in river waters.
Proper natural resource allocation or management. Natural resource allocation are among the most complex and critical decisions made by management and policymakers. Decisions often involve balancing economic, environmental, legal, and technical considerations. What is management of natural resources? Natural resource management refers to the sustainable utilization of major natural resources. Natural resources provide fundamental life support. What are the three R's of waste management? Number one, reduce. Number two, reuse. Number three, recycle. Reduce. Avoid using disposable products like paper cups and plates and straws. Instead, switch to reusable products. Check for the durability of the products. Stop asking for carry bags at shops, instead carry cloth bags. Reuse. Donate or sell old clothes, electrical appliances, furnitures, and etc. Reuse the paper and plastic bags. Recycle. Recycling used papers to make paper bags. Purchasing products that can be recycled and also that are recycled. Why is management of natural resource important? Following are the reasons why the management of natural resources is important. The first one is to maintain a balance in the ecosystem. Second one, to avoid further destruction of the environment. The last but not the least, to avoid overconsumption of the natural resources.
Good day, ma'am. My topic is all about natural resources law. Natural resources law governs how people can use the parts of the environment that have some economic or societal benefit. Generally, these benefits include air, wind, light, water, soil, and plants, animals that occupy the land, and underground minerals or oil. Natural resources law also helps define how natural resources may be bought or sold. Once someone has right to a resource, she may generally sell those rights in any manner she chooses, although there are exceptions for some public policy and initiatives. Natural resources law is the body of law that organizes the discovery, development, allocation, ownership, management, and ultimately use of all the raw materials that our civilization is built from and of the energy sources that make it. In a practical sense, this term has come to mean the constellation of statutory, regulatory, and judicial law that customarily applies to the major natural resource industries such as mining, oil and gas, water, and forestry.
Resource implications. What is resource implication? Implications means outcomes. They can be either negative or positive. Private home building will have resource implications, whether this involves setting up and maintaining their statutory right to build register, monitoring the responses, developing and introducing planning policies, facilitating the delivery of service plots, or supporting a group of project. There are a number of ways councils can organize themselves to keep costs down, and many projects will generate an income that should cover any additional costs that are incurred. What are implications? The factor state of being involved in or connected to something. A possible future effect or result. Consider the implications of your actions. Something that is suggested your implication is unfair. In short, raw material extraction and processing always impact on the environment, resulting as they do in soil degradation, water shortages, biodiversity, loss, damage to ecosystem functions, and global warming exacerbation.